For business, the new year effectively started on Monday, and we are receiving a lot of requests, many of which concern the ongoing serial website accessibility litigation in the United States. On the screen with me, we have several bullet points. These are really the topics that are surrounding what I'm discussing with clients. So let's go over these bullet points. First, I have Shopify stores, and that is because we have so many clients who are Shopify store owners. Of course, Shopify stores have been relentlessly targeted in litigation. If you own or operate a Shopify store, make sure to be aggressive with accessibility. You want to lower your risk right away because so many Shopify store owners are targeted in litigation. And really, the same goes for restaurants. So we also have clients who are restaurant owner operators. And again, we're seeing restaurants that are being sued. And we see this happen a lot in Florida and California. But of course, this is happening across the United States and increasingly in states that weren't previously hotbeds for website accessibility lawsuits. Clients are asking me about a quick turnaround. They are understandably in a hurry. Many times, clients, in fact, most of the time clients are responding to a lawsuit or a demand letter, so it's after the fact. You really want to be ahead of this and start work before you've ever been sued. Obviously, right, that'd be optimal, but we also get questions about how fast can you turn this around, how fast can we get this done. We're getting questions about remediation. Of course, audits are always a part of the equation because we need to find out exactly what accessibility issues exist, and we need to find out all of the accessibility issues that exist. And then usually the standard is 2.1 AA, and then 2.2 AA has becoming more and more frequently a part of the discussion. User testing. I'm the one recommending user testing. This is an optional service, but highly recommended. Documentation comes with it. So the difference between an audit and user testing is an audit is going to be very technical. And this is where a technical accessibility expert is going to evaluate your website against the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And then for every instance of nonconformance, you'll get a report, and then you work through that report and fix all the issues. User testing is more experiential. So with user testing, you're going to have a professional with one or more disabilities, and they are going to go through your digital asset and relay their practical experience. So as you probably can tell, there's some overlap here, but just think that the audit is more technical, the user testing is more experiential. Both are extremely helpful. And when you combine both, not necessarily combine both, but when you have both services a part of what you're doing, it's very helpful. And the user testing, it should always be at the end. You usually don't want to have user testing at the beginning, because then you could have the audit and then the auditor could catch all of these issues. And then user testing is really like a second filter to really review the auditor's work and make sure that even beyond the accessibility issues that are technical, any other practical issues that exist are going to be identified by the user tester, and then they'll let us know if any issues exist. But user testing is typically conducted by a professional who is blind or visually impaired. They're using a screen reader. So obviously this is very helpful, really good documentation to have. And so I recommend both services. And then here I have lunch and learn session. So today I actually received an email about this was from a government, and they were looking for not training, but they wanted a session on just, I think, advising. I hesitated to say government because it might have been an organization within the government, but they wanted a session where I would advise them on the risk and make them aware of what's happening in this space. So it wasn't training, but more just informational. So that was a session they were looking for, and that's likely going to happen. But more and more, sometimes we get other requests. They're related to compliance, but they're more for accessibility. So think about a VPAT service. But starting the new year, there's been a lot of concern around litigation, responding to litigation, and then also preempting litigation. So if you are someone who is interested in our services, I will tell you that we are extremely experienced in this space. So as for myself, I am an attorney. I'm not practicing law in this space, but of course, having the legal background helps. And I'm the founder of accessible.org. I have 7 years in accessibility and compliance. I've written 2 books. One is the ADA book. One is Digital Accessibility and Compliance. I highly recommend Digital Accessibility and Compliance. And then ADA book is complementary, but Digital Accessibility and Compliance really takes the ADA book and it goes more into the practical side, versus the ADA book covers a lot of the legal background, especially for Title III of the ADA, because with Title III, we don't have a specific standard that we're looking for. So this is really with Title III, with the private litigation. So if you're a Shopify store owner, if you're a restaurant, this is really based on a general interpretation of the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and not something that is set out specifically. So the ADA book gets into that. But anyways, this is all to say I'm very experienced in this space. Through accessible.org, we offer services to help clients. Our lead auditor, who is in charge of everything, oversees all of our audits. She has all the certifications you'd want, including DHS trusted tester. She is truly a technical expert. And if you search for accessible.org audit report, then you can see a nice preview of what you can expect if you get an audit from us. It is very meticulous. It is very detailed. It is thorough. We also offer user testing. I just posted tonight, videos from Alex, who is a user tester with us. You can see his work in the videos. And then we've taken care of so many clients who have been sued. We can provide the documentation, evidence of accessibility. And I understand this space. To where if you have any questions or if you just want guidance as you are going through the services, I can tell you exactly what you need, what would be helpful. And so this is fairly straightforward. Once you just understand everything that's in place, the different terms and concepts, it is so important that you go with the right provider. And when I say right provider, I'm not saying it has to be accessible.org, but you want to go through a provider who is not going to mislead you or try to sell you on things that you don't need. So when I say things you don't need, the two things that come to mind immediately are an overlay widget, and there could also be a custom overlay, and then there are also paid scans, which you really don't need, especially if you're, for example, a Shopify store owner. You don't need to pay for a scan. You can use a scan for free. There's no need to pay for them. Yes, they do come with some extras, but it's not really helpful to you. What you do need is an audit. And so what I see a lot of times is that, especially when a client has gone to another provider and then they come to me and I find out what they've been sold on, I find out that they've been misled a lot of times and they've been sold on unnecessary things. So that can happen. So this is all to say that we're experienced and we will provide, along with the service, we will help you understand what the process is, how these different services fit into what you're doing, why they're helpful. And I do take the approach with clients that, because a lot of times they've already been sued before they come to us. If that is the case, then let's make it a one and done. And really, if you've just been sued recently, then you've had a lot of outstanding risk going on for years. So that risk finally caught up with you, but you can go ahead and curtail that risk going forward and make sure that you stay on top of accessibility, and we can help you do exactly that. So along with this, I will say that our pricing is posted online, so you can very easily see this. We have a cost calculator. If you just search for accessible.org pricing or accessible.org cost calculator, you can see our prices are right there for you to look at, and then we can provide a quote very quickly. Obviously, your website is likely different, but you do see we charge by page or screen, and so it's very easy to go ahead and calculate your cost, and it's usually not going to be as expensive. It's not as expensive as you think it is. So there's the cost calculator, the pricing online. And then if you have any questions, if you're curious about anything in the space, so for example, let's say you've got an email from another accessibility company that's told you that you've been sued, or let's say that you've been told by a defense lawyer that all you need is their audit. They have an audit that they're going to sell you. You don't need that, right? And so I've answered all of these questions on accessible.org. I've answered these questions on this YouTube channel. So if you search for this YouTube channel, there's so many questions that have been answered. So you can research this ahead of time. But we're very experienced. We've worked with so many clients. And so this is what we're seeing to start the new year. If you need help, feel free to reach out to me. My email is Chris, KRIS, @accessible.org, and I will include more information in the description.